Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today, inshallah, I'm going to talk to you about my opinion and review about the different comic books for children. Now, one thing I want to point out to all parents is when a book is a best-selling book, that's when you have to be suspicious, because unfortunately, the standards, the moral standards of today's society is crazy, and it does not necessarily agree with our Islamic teachings. And for that matter, with any positive teachings, for that matter. So you really have to double check and review a book when it's best-selling, especially when it's best-selling. I wrote a review earlier about the Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I assume this became an old-fashioned book now. It's been in the market for quite some time, but anyway, I know that a lot of children are still hooked on it. And the reason why I felt that I really need to write a review is because I saw a post about how it's translated into Arabic, and a lot of even Arab children back home and in Egypt and different countries are reading it now. So I felt that it's really a necessity for me to say something about these kind of books, and hoping that parents listen, because sometimes all is you look at a comic book, oh, it's just it looks childish, so what's the harm? What kind of harm would it present to my child? But it has a great harmful effect on a child, especially when it's a series. That's something else that I'm a strong believer in. When a book is in series, so if the child is hooked on it, it will stay with him for quite some time. It's like watching a movie over and over and over, and every time you watch it, you remember phrases from it, you remember actions and the way a character is acting, so you try to imitate it, especially if you are so much in love with the main character. And the main character of that book wasn't the best child you would want your child to be affected by. So I'm not going to talk more about this, but I found these two. My son wanted to read them. So from a first, the first instant you would look at it and, oh, it's okay, it's nice and colorful and it's attractive. So he grabbed it, he read a couple of pages, and I was like, you know what, Hamza, after the Wimpy Kid, like in the back of my mind, I tell myself, I really need to see what these books are about. It's very deceiving. You look at it and it's like, oh, especially look at the picture, how childish it is. So you will like, oh, it's just, it's funny, it's silly, it's corny. But so what's the harm? But then I got these two books and I read them. Please don't give these books to your children. Please don't hand it over to your child. Don't. Don't just take my word for it. Go to Amazon. Go to commonsensemedia.org. I think I did post about it on the page. commonsensemedia.org. And read the reviews. Don't read the positive reviews, because the reason why I say that, because the positive reviews usually says that, oh, my child got hooked on it and she spent hours reading it, but it doesn't really. Most of the parents who write a positive review have not read the book. They just say that my child is hooked on it. They like it. They like reading it. They will spend hours in the room reading it. And that's it. But when you look at the negative reviews and the bad reviews, it shows that the parents actually took the time to read the books. And that's why when I want to know about a book, I go to the bad review and I see why is it bad. Because if it's good, it's good. That's it. But I want to know why would a parent say that it's bad. Because usually the one who writes a review about a child's a children book is a parent. So first of all, let's see. You grab a book and give it to your child for pretty much two main reasons. Number one, to improve his or her language, spelling, vocabulary, add to his language, right? And then number two is for moral lessons. Instead of you lecturing him about what's right and what's wrong, it's good to read about how you should be as a good human. I'm not even going to say you're Muslim or anything else. Just a simple good human in a society. None of these reasons or none of these purposes are served through these books. So the Dog Man, first of all, for some weird reason, the author is intentionally misspelling words. It's really ridiculous, and I have no idea why would an author, why would a publisher, why would the world let a book published for children and it has misspelled words intentionally. So, for example, I'm not just saying about, writing the word U as the letter U or B-E as the letter B. No. Like how we sometimes write text messages. Or little as L-I''E-L. No. Or C-U as C, the letter C and U. No, it's not just this. It's, I don't know if I can find it right now because I don't want to really take a lot of time. It's just like, unfortunately, I think it was unfortunately, like a lot of words just misspelled. It's written as it's pronounced. So it's just crazy. And I was like, why would they do this? Like, for parents who are struggling with their children, to teach them spelling, it will just irritate and frustrate you even more. Like, I give my child a book to help him with his reading and his language and his spelling and his vocabulary, and that's what they get. A book that with a lot of spelling mistakes, like, I need that. So that's number one. And even punctuations where they have a word that is capitalized where it should not be capitalized, or a word that is not capitalized and it should be capitalized. And I'm not even gonna talk about the periods and question marks and all these things. No, it's just ridiculous when it comes to the language value this book presents. Zero, nothing. Now, as far as inappropriate, well, this one has more the Captain Underpants has more inappropriate language than Dogman does. A lot of poop and just disgusting language. Let's put it this way, disgusting language. And of course, it's shown as if it's funny. And even Dogman the same thing, but Dogman is not as bad in this aspect as Mr. Underpants or Captain Underpants. So that's as far as language. Now, as far as content and morals and lessons that your children will get, I found nothing. I have zero. I don't know why. I have no idea. Number one New York Times bestsellers. I don't know why. The silver lining is, if you want to raise an ummah, please don't give these books to your children. That's just it. As simple as that. It has nothing positive your child will get from these books. Now, why are children hooked on it? Why is it number one bestseller? It's just because it's a comic book. Comic books are attractive for children because they're easy to read. And they have pictures, even for adults. Sometimes I like picture books more than just a big, heavy, dense book. So it's attractive. It's an interactive book if you look at it that way. So it's easy to get used to, especially for reluctant readers who don't like to read. I have one of my children. She didn't like to read grabbed a comic book after a comic book, got hooked on reading, and started to read more. So yes, I cannot deny the fact that comic books are much better or more attractive to children than other books. And that's why my video is not going to stop here. I'm not just going to say no to this and no to this and no to this. I have a lot of much more books about comic books that I would highly recommend for our children, inshallah. But these, please just put it very far away from you and your children. Don't let, especially like I said, these are series books, so they will stay with your child, and you will notice the effect on your child from these books. So please just put it very far away, or maybe if you can just throw it in the trash, that's even better. Okay. That being said, I have tons and tons of recommendation for comic books. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, we came across good books. Now, before I recommend the books, I want to tell you that I did not read each and every book. My children did. And I read some, I didn't read some, and I will tell you which one I read and which one I didn't. I take the review of my kids. We have a deal with my kids that please, if you come across something, because I have 6 kids, so and they all love to read, alhamdulillah. So I cannot, in the beginning, it was easy for me to read a book after they start reading it. And I say yes or I say no. But now, I can't do this. I can't keep up anymore, especially with the older ones having like this thick of a book. So I tell them, please, we have a trust going on, alhamdulillah, between us. And I tell them, if you come across anything that you know very well that we don't agree on, and it does not go with our teachings, please stop, come talk to me, show me, and then we'll decide together whether it's just a yellow light where we can just give the book another chance and keep on reading, or if it's a red light and there's no way we give this book another chance. So most of these books, 99%, or I would say, just to make sure, it's 90% safe, and it does go with our teachings. Nothing contradicts with our teachings, or nothing inappropriate necessarily. You might come across, sometimes we came across maybe the girlfriend and boyfriend, the word itself mentioned, but that's about it. Oh mama, my son came the other day, one of these books I think just the character, the brother was talking about his sister's boyfriend, but nothing else was mentioned. That's it. There's no relation or nothing mentioned other than just mentioning this. Or the girls are saying, oh, this boy is cute, something like that. So I'm just to be honest, very 100% honest about my reviews. These books, unfortunately, you're not gonna find. It's very hard. It's not that it's impossible. It's very hard to find a book that is 100% okay with appearance. Every book that I decided that it's okay to go through it fully, it's like okay, 1%, 2% things that we don't agree with, but we talk about it and we say that this is not something that we agree on, but let's just move on and not think so much into it. So number one is this one. This is really good. And I did read it with my children. It's the Manga Library Classics. So what they do is they have the American classics, and they have it. They have all the classics in comics. So your children will be reading the American classics in comic version. Now, given that this story has not, so this is it's not a series, but it's just a lot of books about the American classics in comics. So the book itself is really good. This one is good. The story is good. Now, I don't agree with all the American classics to be for children. Some of the American classics are not really for children, even though it's introduced to children. So I would say this book series is really good, or this book collection is really good, but you have to make sure that the story itself, or the classic itself, is not so bad. And the story, like for example, I would not, I didn't let my children, for example, read, I don't know, I can't think of one, Romeo and Juliet. It's introduced in all schools, and most of the homeschoolers introduce Romeo and Juliet, or a lot of the Shakespeare stories to their children. I don't know if this one has that Shakespeare stories, but classics. But if it I don't let my children read a lot of the Shakespeare stories, because it's just a lot of it. I don't agree that it should be introduced to children. So this is one. It's really good. Check it out. The Manga Library Classics introduces classics in a comic book. It's very easy, very nice. All my children read it. I read it, and it's funny, and it's nice. It's nice. Usually the classics are introduced in a very, very dry and dense content, so this one was nice to read, such a nice story in a nice format. This one is just one book, I think. We didn't find anything else on the library. And this is the True Story Lost Trail, 9 Days Alone in the Wilderness. I read this with my son. It's really, really, really good. And it does have a moral. It does have a lesson that teaches your child. It will teach him how to... so it's basically a true story about a... that's true, so that's them. About a boy who was lost in the wilderness, and how he was able to survive in the wilderness, and what he did, and how he didn't give up and till he survived. So this is really, really good book. So your child will read it, enjoy it, gain so many things from it, as far as language, morals and lessons from the story. So that's a good time spent. Okay, Indiana Jones. I don't know if you guys are familiar with his movies. This is Harrison Ford. I watched all his movies growing up, so I love his movies. In the movies, speaking of which, the movies are good, except sometimes they use bad language. We watched a movie and it did use the F word one time, so that wasn't really fun. But other than that, it's good. The book itself is really good. He goes on an adventure to find something. That's basically it. So I did not read this only because I just skimmed through it. So the books that I don't read, I skim through it. It's good. It has nothing bad in it. No, not even the language that is in the movie. So this is good. They're gonna enjoy it, especially for the little older one, or the boys especially, because it's a little vicious and it's a tough, rough adventure for him to go and discover some sort of treasure. So this is good. This is good, especially for boys. My girls enjoyed it too, but it's good. Alright, and then this one is history based. This is really, really, really good. Junior Graphic American Inventors. This is really, really good. I read this one. I enjoyed reading it. My son read it. He enjoyed reading it, and I think one of my daughters read it. It's really nice. About American inventors, and it has some of the history into it. So this one, for example, it mentioned, I think, one of the wars. I don't remember which war, but it did maybe World War One or Two, something like that, maybe two. But as it's explaining his story, it has all the history behind that was going on during that time period. So it's really good. It's colorful. It's the language is clean and rich. So your child will be improving his reading, his vocabulary, his spelling, and gaining a lot of information in a not very dry sense and format. So this one, and this is a collection. It has George Washington Carver, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, Robert Fulton. This is the one. Steve Jobs, Ellie Whitney. So this is really nice. I love this one. This is one of my favorite. Now another one that is okay. I'm gonna go with the not so. This one I didn't read it. I think my son read it, and it's basically, and I don't think it comes in a series. So it's basically about video games and how they work, but it's not like they just tell you how it works. It's just that these two are challenging. Clean. It has nothing in it that is bad. It might be a little bit violent, a little bit, but it's overall it's good. So I cannot say more about it because I really didn't read it. I just took his input and feedback about it. But as you see, it's also attractive, colorful. The language, he said, there's nothing bad in the language. Yeah. I think he did mention about one thing, but I guess I don't remember, to be honest, but it's just one thing, maybe again a boyfriend or girlfriend, something like that, but I don't remember. But overall he said it's okay and he would read it again and recommend it to his sisters, so this was good. Now Party Boys, this is an old novel. I don't think initially it was a graphic novel. I think they made it into a graphic novel. I'm not sure, but I knew about Hardy Boys before, and I recommended it to my son because he was looking for a series book, and I read a lot of reviews about it. So we grabbed the book and we read it together. That was not a graphic novel, and he kind of liked it. But then when he came to the library, when he went to the library the other day, he found it as graphic novel, and he got so excited, and he said maybe it will be more interesting than just the novel itself. So the Hardy Boys itself, I did not read this one, but the Hardy Boys itself, it's kind of mysteries. These two boys go on adventures or mysteries to solve mysteries. Go on adventures to solve mysteries. So it's nice. Of course, you know, these are kind of things that you would see. But other than that, it's just, it's clean, 90% clean, I would say. That's about it. So this one is, the story itself, the language, it's okay, except some of the graphics that we might not, that might be a little disturbing. But this isn't any graphic book because that's just how they dress. Anyway, science comics. I love this one. This is also one of my favorite. It introduces science in a very, very, very fun way. My son gets bored very quickly, so he went through the whole story and he loved it. And it's a series. So this one is about robots and drones. And there's coral reefs, dinosaurs, volcanoes, bats, flying machines, plagues, dogs. So maybe you get the plagues now. We'll talk about COVID. So this one it really talks about the very science of things, but in a very not dry way. I did not read the whole book. I read some of it. I enjoyed it. It was nice. It was fun. But it's just, oh, and it has a hijabi too, so he was very excited about it. So, yeah, so this was nice. This is a really good one, and it's a series, so it will stay. with your child if he gets or she gets hooked on it. Now, another one that I read myself, I read multiple of these. This is The Amazing Story of, it's a STEM Adventures series. What is it called? I think Graphic Library. Yeah, it's by Graphic Library, Capstone Press, and usually in Max, he comes and he meets youth as they're having some sort of problem with skateboarding and cell phones, and this one, yeah, cell phone. I read these two, and they're really interesting. So they were having problem with their skateboard, and they want to win a race. So he helped him first introduce the history of skateboards, and then he helped them engineer a skateboard that will make them win the race. So it's also science and STEM based. So this is really, really interesting for kids who like engineering and science and STEM in general. This one also, he was stuck somewhere. He wanted to make a call for his wife. So the call dropped. He has no signal. The one with him told him, what does that mean? So he started explaining what it means not to have a signal, and why sometimes we have a signal and why we don't. So this is really, really good. And let me show you inside. So it's really like it's not boring at all. It's really interesting. Very colorful, very graphic, and interactive. So that's for this one. This one. This one. Okay. And then the last one that I have today, I have way more, guys, but I don't want to make it a very long video. So these are the ones that we got from the library. I read all these. This is one of my favorites. I think this is from Australia. Building Blocks of Computer Science. This is a series that introduces the very, very, very complicated concepts of computer programming to children in a very fun and interesting way. I read one and I was like, oh, let me read the whole thing because I do want to know about computer science. So I loved it. And it really introduces it in a very fun, simple way. Like it's good for maybe 9 and up, only because you have to follow along. It's not just a simple idea in a page. So the younger ones will get lost to follow along. But I think for 9 and up, they will be able to follow and understand. It's really nice, very informative. It's not dry. It's nice. So my son read a couple of these, but he's not into computer programming, so it didn't really catch him. But for those who have children who like computer programming, this will introduce very, very, very tough like things that the college students study in a very simple and interactive way. Now the fun part is these are very expensive. I like when I see a good book, I want to buy it and put it in my library, but they're very expensive only because you really need to get them from Australia. So when I went to they had this is their website, worldbook.com, www.worldbook.com. They have a huge library. Go check it out. They have very, very, very nice books. If I can, I would buy all the books they have. Very good. and a lot of them are science-based, history-based, geography-based, really nice. But they have a link for these books, these series books, the building blocks. So www.worldbook.com/building blocks, and they have activities based on each book. So that's also fun. That's it. That's what I have for you today. So I hope for now these are enough recommendations to fill in the void. If your children are hooked on the other kind of comic books that I don't recommend at all, I have a list of Muslim comic books that I will share with you, inshallah, soon. I haven't read any of them except one, I think, and I'm on the process of getting some of. Actually, I read Noor Kids. I will talk about it, but it's I'm pretty sure a lot of you know about it. Noor Kids is a nice comic books, Islamic books that children get hooked on, and my kids love them. Even my oldest ones. And they introduce sometimes very complicated topics to children in a very fun way that I never thought of introducing this topic in that way. So it comes in, it's kind of a magazine. It has 2 stories in it. And it's, as you see, it's very colorful. Again, language is great. So this is one story, the rest of the story, and it breaks the story into 2 parts so that to give time for questions. And it has some activities in it. So this is really nice. We love this. We've been with them. It's a subscription. We've been with them for as long as I can remember. I don't know, 5-6 years. I don't know. Ever since they started, we've been getting their books. We love them. I read them for myself to educate myself. And I don't know if I have the book here. I don't want to take much more time. But Huda Fahmy, check it out for your older kids. Huda Fahmy, that book. Yes, I'm hot in this. And she has 2 more, but it's for older, for like teenagers. She's hilarious. I love her. I read the book many times. So that's also a comic book, but it's for older kids. But that's about it for now. Inshallah, I will have the links. I will add the links of most of these books as much as I can to this link so that you have a direct link to it. And if you guys have any questions, just drop it on the comment below. And I guess that's it. I hope, inshallah, I helped in a little in reviewing as many books as possible, so that you have a good collection to introduce to your kids instead of the easy to grab, not very good books that we talked about earlier in the video. Okay, assalamu alaikum, and we'll talk later, inshallah.